Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about queue in C++. Queue is a data structure that stores a collection of items and has the same meaning in C++ as it does in real life. Whatever goes in first gets out first, or in C++ it's called the FIFO structure, first in, first out. Queue has a restriction on where a new item can be added from and where an item can be removed from. The insertion happens at the tail of the queue and can only be deleted from the head of the queue. For example, there are only 10 limited edition video games at a store and you are the first person in line. You'll be able to buy the video games because you're the first person in line and get out of there. That is, if it's not a barbarian show where people are running into each other and it's all chaos because people want to buy the limited edition video game. The operation for queue or NQ for insertion, DQ for deletion, is empty that returns whether the queue is empty or not, is full that returns whether the queue is full or not. I mean, of course, you can name them anything you want. We'll be going over my code on queue, which I had to do for my very first C++ course in college. First thing we'll be talking about is queue is empty, which returns true if the queue count is 0 and it's initialized as 0 at the very beginning of the program, and it increments by 1 as items get enqueued into the queue. Queue is full returns true if the queue count is the same as queue size, which is 10, or which has been initialized as 10, the size of the queue, and false otherwise. All right, and the next function is enqueue, which enqueues item into the queue. Of course, it has conditionals. If the queue is empty, then it changes the function of the queue head and the queue tail to 0, which creates a queue. Next is if the queue is full, checks whether the queue is full or not, and prints that the queue is full if it is. And of course, this is circular queue, so the queue head is connected to queue tail. Which means that the tail or the very end of the queue is connected to the very front of the queue. And when that happens, when the queue is full, it changes the queue tail to the same as queue head. Otherwise, it increases the queue tail by 1. And then it adds the item into the index of the queue tail. Next is DQ, which deletes the very first item in the queue. All right, let's run this code and see whether it works or not. All right, let's enqueue from the file. This 2, 3, 4, 5. This should have inserted the first 5 line from my txt file. All right, let's check whether that's true or not. And as you can see, that is what happened. Now, let's DQ, which should delete the very first item in the queue, which is Gelit 25. All right, let's DQ this. And then if we print the queue, then the line 1 from the file has been DQ'd. And as we go on and print it, line 2 has been DQ'd. Line 3 should be DQ'd now. As it goes on, it keeps on changing. Keeps on DQing the very first item in the queue. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.